Hey guys, MCU Collector here with another figure review. Next up is the Hasbro Marvel Legends series, the Target exclusive retro carded Moon Knight figure. This is the exact same figure that came out that was exclusive to Walgreens. Same exact thing. I mean, same accessory, same everything. Everything. The shading is going to be a little bit heavier on this new one, but it is essentially the same exact thing. So much like the armored Moon Knight that released earlier at the very beginning of this year, or early or late last year, depending on when you may have gotten it, a straight up re-release. Why Moon Knight has gotten just straight up re-releases, I don't really know. At least the Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man, right? We got a blue spider logo instead of red. So a difference, a minor difference. This Moon Knight and that other Moon Knight, no differences. Obviously, Hasbro is really just trying to capitalize on the popularity of the Moon Knight Disney Plus show. And, you know, I guess it makes sense. The armored one, you know, was a cool figure at the time. Did it need a re-release? No, I don't really think so. Did this one? Kind of, because I know that when this released at Walgreens, people had a very difficult time getting it. A lot of places didn't get it, a lot of areas. So people really wanted this. And so like when I was reviewing that re-release, everyone was saying, we wanted the Walgreens one. Why did they come out with this one? Well, here's the Walgreens one. It sucks that it's a store exclusive this time. The armored one was a fan channel, so at least it's much easier to get. But this does present people the opportunity to get this version of Moon Knight that they may have missed out on before. But again, it is the same one. So if you have the Walgreens exclusive one, don't bother with this one. Don't get it. Unless you want to keep it on card and hang it on your wall or do whatever. Then yeah, you know, you're probably going to want to pick it up. But otherwise, it's going to be a pass. So street date was today. So by the time you're watching this, it should be available, whether it's going to be on the pegs when you go to the store or not, or you could try order online for pickup. I'm not sure if that's going to work. I think Spider-Man ended up not working out that way. So you have those options to kind of do. Artwork for Moon Knight looks really cool. We get the logo there. It says Fist of Khonshu. You can see all the accessories and everything in he has. There's a lot of stuff. We got the moon rings. We got the extra set of hands, the alternate head. We got the bow staff. So it comes with a lot of good stuff. It's all the same stuff that we got before, but a lot of stuff. The Target threw this barcode thing on there, but it says, a vision of the Egyptian temple leads Mark Spector to don a shroud. To what? To don a shroud and become the crime-fighting hero Moon Knight. I don't know. Don a shroud. Is that really what that says? Anyway, that's kind of weird. Let's rip this open and get Moon Knight out of there. Okay, so here is the Moon Knight out of the package. And I have to have this alternate head sculpt on there, because if I don't, I swear, I won't be able to tell the two different figures apart. Like, you have to have the different head on there, because they're the same. When I said the shading is a little bit heavier on this one, it is just going to be in the chest. As far as I know, like the head sculpt, the hoods have the same amount of shading. And again, I will do the side-by-side comparisons. I did not get out my accessory bag for the Walgreens release to be able to compare with that head sculpt. But I will look at images before we get to that point to kind of look. But I just wanted to get this out of the way so you can overlook at the figure and the fact that they are so similar. I have to have the alternate head on there so I can tell them apart. So this one will just have the white mask on. This one will have the black mask. So in terms of accessories, he has the little tiny moon rings that will plug into the hands. They are a little tricky. They're tiny, getting them into your hand and then putting them into like the fists. And you could do it on the left or the right. As you can see there, there's just little peg holes in there. So you could be able to get those moon ring pieces in there. The larger moon rings, he's got two of them. As you can see there, he's holding one, and he's got the other one. You have the bow staff, which is done in this like pearlescent finish kind of thing, which is kind of nice. So it has this nice satin look to it. So we have that bow staff there. And then again, the alternate head sculpt. So white mask, black mask. And there we have Moon Knight. So let's go ahead in for a closer look and talk about the differences in the shading, because there ain't no other differences. Okay, so here we have the closer look at Moon Knight. So I wanted to show you guys one thing that does, but look, I just dropped one out. We have these nice, these are the armored fist, the armored Moon Knight, the fists that come with it, because it has, you know, you could do the moon ring things like in there and they fall off very easily. But one thing that I always really hated about that is the grip hands don't match. So the grip hands are just regular grip hands. They're almost like trigger fingers. It holds the moon rings quite nicely, but I think it doesn't really grip the bow staff too great. But it always bothers me me, like, if you want to do certain things, the hands aren't going to match each other. Is it that big of a deal? Probably not, because it's all white in color and you may not notice it right away, but I would just prefer if, you know, if the grip hands matched these hands, because that would make more sense to me, if you ask me. Let's see, getting the bow staff in there. Yeah, you know what, he does grip it fairly nice. It's a pretty tight grip. Like, I was trying to, like, force it between the fingers and the thumb, and I couldn't do it. You know, getting it out I can, but forcing it in was actually a little bit trickier. So he does grip the bow staff quite nicely, so no worries there. I did look up my review of the Walgreens exclusive Moon Knight, so it looks like all the shading and stuff is actually going to be the same. I'm going to try and darken it up a little bit here so you guys can to really show the shading. I think when it was so bright, it was kind of hard. You don't see the shading as much, but the shading does go fairly heavy on this black mask hood, as you can see there. So it's very heavy shading along kind of the bottom of it, which looks pretty good versus like the regular one. I feel like the shading is a little bit darker. I mean, the shading's still there, but I definitely think it's a little bit darker on the version with the black mask. So that is the difference there. There's no shading on the black mask at all. The white mask, you do get some shading, and then it's kind of, the eyes are outlined in black, whereas on the black mask one, they're just all silver. Pop that head back on there. Pop that head back on there. Oh, no, because the ball's all the way to the back, so I can't. Obviously, that's not going to work. Okay, so we got the head sculpt back on there. Let's get that cape plugged into his back so it rests a little bit flatter on his back there. And then let's take a look at the rest of the figure. So looking at it, we actually get some shading on the back of the cape, which is cool. It is basically the same that we had gotten before. I wouldn't call it like heavier or lighter than the previous Walgreens exclusive. Walgreens on the right, new one on the left. So the shading is basically all the same. Not enough to kind of notice any kind of difference between the two in any kind of way. So just a heads up on that. Looking back here at the two head sculpts, you can see the shading is about the same. It almost looks like it could be a little bit darker on the original Walgreens release, but they are the same. But when I had said that the new one has some darker shading, and it's going to be like in the chest. So if you look at the chest area, the shading definitely looks a little bit heavier than the Walgreens exclusive. So again, Walgreens on the right, new one on the left. So the shading on the chest is definitely more than the shading on the chest on the right. Other than that, the two figures are then the exact same. There is no difference whatsoever. Like, the white is the same white. The pearlescent color for the shin guards, for the forearm guards, and for the belt is the same. They are the same figure. So again, if you have this Walgreens exclusive release, you do not need this new one unless you wanted to keep it on card. If you missed out on the Walgreens release, this is the one to get. This is probably going to be the best Moon Knight figure we get for a while. If they ever come out with a season 2 of Moon Knight, maybe then Hasbro would release another comic Moon Knight, but I just don't see them releasing another Moon Knight anytime soon at all. So again, this would be, definitely the one to pick up if you do not have that previous Walgreens exclusive Moon Knight. Because if you want a Moon Knight, this is your chance. But looking at it up close, it is a reissue, so of course there's pins. The pins don't bother me whatsoever because it's all white on white. There's no color break or anything like that, so it's no issue other than the fact that we know that it's an older body because, it's a reissue. Pinless at this point just represents newer stuff, which is cool. I don't think it's always necessary, while it would be always welcomed when the colors match and it's just a reissue. That's what we see. But let's go ahead and check out the articulation now. Okay, so articulation, the way the cape is designed, you could take the cape off. It just pegs in the back if you want to just kind of hold it in place. But otherwise, it's just over his neck. If you want to just pop the head off, you can remove the cape there. But I will show the articulation with it. The head is on a disc hinge, but getting him to look up is a little bit tricky because of the design of the cape, as you can see there. But getting him to look down is actually quite easy, so he can look all the way down. You get a full rotation in that head. Is there some pivot? It looks like there's a tiny bit in there. The shoulder you can get to go straight straight on out and a little upwards there. You get a full rotation in that shoulder. This is the all-new, all-different Spider-Man 2099 body, which has very good articulation. So the butterfly joint you can get to go pretty far back. Most butterfly joints nowadays do not get this range of motion, unfortunately, so it's nice to see that we still can get that to go back pretty far. Crossbody is going to be some, as you can see there, you can get some crossbody going on in there. We got the upper bicep swivel in there. Double jointed elbow gives you a little bit more than 90 degrees there. Wrist swivel, and they do hinge. Grip hands have the standard horizontal hinge, as well as the armored fist hands have the standard horizontal hinge. We have an ab crunch on this guy, so he can crunch forward that much there. He can crunch back a little bit there, but with the cape, that's going to make things a little bit difficult, obviously. We got the waist swivel in there. You can just adjust and move around the belt as needed, so it doesn't get in the way of the swivel. Legs go out that far apart. He can kick forward that far, which is good. Leg doesn't really go back. You got an upper thigh cut in there, double jointed pin knees, but a solid bend there at the knee. You got a calf swivel right at the boot cut there. Foot hinges all the way down. You get some hinge up, but the top of the foot hits that shin guard piece there, as you can see, so you don't get as much range forward as you may want or need at times. Ankle pivot, peg holes at the bottom of the feet. So still really good articulation. This is still one of the best bodies that Hasbro has done. They've made shit versions of it though, where like some of them are like super gummy, like the Future Foundation Spider-Man just came out extremely gummy. There's not really any gumminess here, so that's not a concern or anything like that. It's been used a bunch of times at this point, so many times, but I think we don't complain about it as much because Bucky Cap just, you know, was dated. It was a smaller scale, just wasn't quite right. Whereas this one, where it still works really well because we have the butterfly joints and the articulation, you know, it tends to be a little bit better. So I think in that instance, we're like, oh, you know, it still holds up. I would still like them to do more, not you know, without this body and have new bodies and things like that. But this one still holds up. But again, I would still like them to start using other ones now. Since this is a reissue, that's not necessarily going to be the case. But when we start to get newer characters or newer versions of characters, I would like to see them do newer bodies, especially because they basically have the same body but in pinless now. So, you know, future figures, that's what we should see. Okay, and then the final shot for the review, we're just going to see the full side-by-side so you guys can see it. Again, same exact figures. You know, if you need to get the Target exclusive, you should be able to easily get it. I don't think it's going to be crazy. Pre-order didn't even sell out, so it should be very easy to get your hands on. I'll have a link in the video description below. Street date was November 5th, so Target stores have at it. All, you know, able to go in there, and hopefully they have it located in the back. They can get it. Hopefully it's on the pegs. But we know, you know, typically with Target, when it has a street date, the street date comes, they don't just magically take it out of the back. You got to ask for them. They'll likely get it for you. But if you missed out, pick it up. If you didn't miss out, think about if you really need to add it to your collection. You may not need to. So it's just one of those things that, I mean, it's great that people get another option. It sucks that it's also exclusive, but at the same time, hey, it's an exclusive, which sometimes can be harder to get. And so if it's an easy pass for you, you don't have to worry about it, and then it works out. But it's just kind of one of those twofold things as part of the collecting world, and you know what we have to go through and what there's going on. But you guys let me know all your thoughts about it, your thoughts on the figure down in the comments below. If you guys like this video, please do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you're interested in helping support the channel, hit that join button to become a channel member and be a part of the MCU Collective. And as always, thank you for watching.